Alright guys, this is probably one of the lazier videos I've done, but it's actually kind of nice because we've got a lot going on. We're in the middle of moving from Hawaii, so you can see Hawaii. Let me get you a better view. Now you can kind of tell it's Hawaii. See the mountains. Anyways, we're moving from Hawaii to the Pacific Northwest, and of course shipping the great Triumph motorcycle. But if you've watched my videos for a while, you probably know that I own this old Triumph. This is the only motorcycle I own, actually. And I've made a couple videos about maybe why you should consider getting an old motorcycle versus a new one. I've made a video on maybe why you shouldn't. But this is a more general sort of like trying to identify the type of person who should buy a motorcycle like this, because this really isn't for everybody. But at the same time, I think it offers a really cool, rewarding experience for people who are into motorcycles that I think a lot of people overlook. And it's just it's a different experience, you know? It's so different than what you experience when you get a new bike. So I kind of want to identify the type of people who could potentially enjoy owning, you know, a 50-year-old British bike or maybe like an old Japanese bike. The first type of person who can totally buy a bike like this and enjoy it is a rare breed, but is, I guess, the kind of person that I'll call like I guess you could say a mechanic, but it's almost more than somebody who has mechanical skill. You hear stories about people who, you know, ride old motorcycles, like say they ride like an old panhead and it's their daily commuter and they take it to work every single day, and sometimes it breaks down on the side of the road and they fix it, and that's the type of person that can buy an old motorcycle and do whatever they want on it because they know how to keep up with it to such a level, and they're so in tune with the vehicle that they know what they're doing, and it's totally fine. Now, I don't really need to tell that type of person that they can own an old motorcycle and do whatever they want on it, because they already know that. Like, they already know that they can literally own an old bike like this and take it anywhere and know that if it breaks down, they can get it running, but it's not going to break down because they know how to just do everything. So that's one person. The other type of person is somebody who already owns a motorcycle. So a bike like this is a great second bike, you know, because it just offers something, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that people just don't get from owning, say, like a Honda Grom or whatever, you know what I mean? Even like a new sport bike. That's its own sort of fun, visceral experience, but owning a bike like this is completely different. You know, maybe that's the type of person that doesn't really want to fix every little thing or, you know, adjust the valves or, you know, mess with carburetors or any of that stuff. And so maybe they do a little bit of tinkering on a bike like this, but it's not the bike that they take to work every day or that they take on long trips. They just own it because it's really cool to have. Maybe it's a good investment, and it is fun to ride. And then I think the last group of people is people like me who their only bike is an old bike. And I think a lot of people think that's crazy, or maybe they think that if you just own an old bike like this that you never actually ride. Just to put into perspective how much I ride, I think I've put 1,000 miles on this in like 8 months, something like that, 9 months, I don't know. And riding here is horrible, and that's a big part of the reason why I don't go on long rides. I'm in a terrible spot up here on the North Shore. There's really only 1 or 2 rides that you can even go on, so I expect to probably double the amount of miles that I put on it, like on average when we move to the Pacific Northwest, where it is amazing to ride motorcycles and the roads aren't full of potholes and yeah, all sorts of other stuff. Yeah, I think that, you know, you also do have a riding season there too, which can make you ride more because, you know, you get the nice weather and you want to go make the most out of it. So let's say next year I put 1,500 or maybe almost 2,000 miles on it. So if you're that kind of rider who maybe rides on the weekend or just goes for little rides around town or takes the bike to the grocery store or throws your kid on the front like I do and just rides around the neighborhood at like 5 miles an hour, or, you know, you can go on, say, like a 1 or 2 hour ride, but you're not getting really, really far away from home because, let's be real, breaking down really far away is not fun. I think that those people who do get, say, a new Bonneville or you know, just a new regular street bike who like the retro aesthetic and they don't ride a ton. They just really want to have a motorcycle and ride it, just go for little rides. Those are the type of people who should at least consider a bike like this. And I've got, you know, some videos on things to look out for that I'll link down below with old bikes and some things that are really fun about old bikes as well. The big thing to consider also is what bike you get. So this bike has been super reliable. I think it's only broken down one time where I actually like had to push it and it was really annoying. But for the most part, this bike has been very reliable. It starts every single time. It's never not started for me. But in terms of like the mechanical, just the engine and stuff, it's solid. It runs great. It starts every time. I'll start it in a minute here actually. It's such a great bike and it's perfect for me because it's fun, it's different, it's unique, it's beautiful. I think it looks 1,000 times better than any motorcycle you can get right now. And it's just awesome. It's so simple. Like, look at the dash, right? It's just so basic. You've got 2 mirrors and a speedometer and a gas tank, right? Like it's so awesome and so simple. I love it so much. And it gives me a smile every time I ride it. It gives me a smile. Like I take it out and park it and I look back at it and I'm like, oh, this thing looks so cool in this parking lot. It looks so much better than anything else in this parking lot. And then I come out and I'm just like, I'm proud to own it. You know what I mean? Which is true for a lot of people for a lot of different bikes. You can buy an MT-07 and be super proud and excited about it. I'm not saying that you can only get that through an old bike. I just think a lot of people don't consider how fun it is to own an old motorcycle, you know? And it's really not a big headache. This bike isn't a big headache because it's just so simple. I already know how to do most things. If it breaks down, I know exactly what's wrong with it. If this thing breaks down, it's because a fuse blew and I take this headlight off that we put on because something is shorting in there, and I put the headlight back on and then I put a new fuse in it and it runs. And I've got spare fuses in a toolbox in here. Dude, that's where the bike is at right now. Like, it's so basic and so simple. It's amazing. But there are other bikes that are even more reliable. Like if you were to get a CB500F from like the mid 70s or even like a little CB125, dude, those bikes are so reliable. They're just as reliable as pretty much anything you get today. Maybe not quite as reliable as the Japanese, you know, like a modern Honda or a modern Kawasaki Ninja 400 or something like that. Sure, those might be a little bit more reliable. They're so reliable, those old Hondas and old Japanese bikes. They're super reliable, probably more reliable than, you know, exotic modern motorcycles like a Moto Guzzi or like a MV Agusta or something like that. You're gonna get a super, super reliable package. You get an old Honda and they're so fun. But yeah, it's, I think the type of people who should consider an old bike like this are the people who want something different, you know, who want to just have something unique, have a bike that has lived, it's got its battle scars, it's got a story to tell, you know, and it's been through stuff. I think that's the kind of bike, those are the kind of people who would like a bike like this. And you know, the great thing is if you don't like it, you just sell it and you don't lose really any money. You might have to take a little more time selling it, but you don't lose anything. So anyways, I'm gonna start the bike up for you guys really quick so you can hear it, and we'll end the video. Running. find a new bike that sounds like this either. So, or smells like that. So, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, kind of a closer look at my bike. And yeah, if you're considering getting an old bike, let us know down below what you're thinking about getting. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Ride safe.